Greetings, friends, and welcome to another episode of The Mistake Zone, your weekly dose of our lives and the mistakes within them. My name is Jaren Wade. Joining me, as always, one of my best friends in the whole wide world, Matt Alba. Hey, Matt.
Yo.
How are you doing?
Yo, I'm feeling sleepy.
Matt, I feel like that's always the risk we run, especially whenever I ask you to record kind of later later in the evening, later on in the day. And I thank you, Matt, normally thank you at the end of the episode, but gonna, thank you at the beginning here for joining me pretty late right now because I'm also a sleepy boy. And as we prepare to, update our friends with our latest mistakes, Matt, I'm going through my Steam library right now just because, I'm trying to do that recurring segment. No recent activity, no recorded activity, and I'm just kind of clicking games. I have my games sorted by date, It will sort last time I either played a game or when I added it to my library. And I think what's tripping me out, Matt, is I'm looking at all these games that I have next to vivid recollections of playing the game. And it's tripping me out that despite me having such strong feelings towards it, I'm looking at, last time I played it was 2017, 2018, 2019. And that honestly feels disgusting, Matt. But you know what else feels kind of maybe off-putting in a sense? Is I'll click one of these games that I played, oh my God, what is it now? 7, 6, 5 years ago. And I'll see a developer update. When you click a Steam game, you'll see the latest updates from the dev, latest news, stuff like that. And it kind of trips me out that I'll randomly click something and see that after all these years, it's one, still being supported to some degree, or two, it recently stopped getting updates. And I don't know, Matt, it's this weird feeling of looking at a time capsule of sorts of a game, a community, a dev cycle that continued to, progress, to continue to thrive when I finally put the controller down. And I know in clicking all these different titles, I clicked on APB Reloaded, Matt, a title that meant a lot of us back in yesteryear. And seeing a update from December 2023 saying that they're sunsetting the servers for the consoles at the very least. And again, Matt, it's a game that we put in some hours, had our own adventures, but when we left, it still continued to live and kind of staring at the remnants of APB Reloaded in some capacity. I don't know. It gives me a pit in my stomach. I don't know what it is. Matt, maybe that's just my mortality screaming, looking back at me as I stare at it. But Matt, I know you've been thinking of, I guess, pseudo MMOs and servers going in and out recently. Matt, what's on your mind?
Jaren, I have been looking very recently at City of Heroes. I don't know if you remember this game.
Yeah, of course.
Jaren, I remember so City of Heroes itself shut down in 2012, around there, I want to say. And basically ever since then, the only way to play City of Heroes is to kind of just do it on a private server. And Jaren, that has all its, kind of, I don't even want to say gray areas. It's just like straight up illegal to do it.
Yeah.
But something recently kind of came up in the news, which is what brought my interest in City of Heroes back, which is that there is a particular, or I guess, I don't know if the correct term to use here was a particular private server called City of Heroes Homecoming, which was just a private server that had all these City of Hero assets, and they were just running it for people to play on. And kind of just like any other private server, it's kind of just running in that illegal area. And the wild thing to me is that very recently, NCSoft being the developer of City of Heroes, gave them an official license to run the server however they want. And I think that that is a really, really wild thing, because they are not running it kind of like one-to-one on how I guess NCSoft ran it. They're running it in a way where it is truly free to play,
Right.
where you have access to everything. They made it so that the stuff that you would get through, microtransactions in the cash shop, you now cannot buy using microtransactions. You can just grind the currency that the microtransactions used, which I think is a really interesting change, where you can now, get all the stuff that you would have wanted as a child or kid. I think we were teen. No, we were adults maybe in 2012, but getting all the stuff that you didn't want to actually pay for. And you bringing up that APB Reloaded is getting the console sunset, it makes me think that, Jaren, maybe one day the APB, whole server thing, this will happen to it, and we can get all those cosmetics that and all those other guns and cars that we never wanted to pay real money for in a APB official private server.
That's very true, Matt. And I remember when that news came out about City of Heroes, it's one of those things that what makes it so wild is considering the state of IP and how it feels like every other day you have some sort of news story coming out. In between, of course, all the news stories of the mass layoffs, unfortunately, but a lot of companies trying to be really protective of their IP and shutting down, whether it be a private server, I guess rightfully so, when they're trying to shut down hack makers and cheat makers. And you don't really see stories of, hey, this private server that you're running to essentially give a lifeline to a dead game. You know what? We'll officially license it to you, make some sort of money, and try to get some goodwill from the community. Honestly, that doesn't happen. I couldn't tell you another example of that. And I think, that cynical part of me thinks, oh, is this prepping for some sort of reboot? Will there be a new entry of City of Heroes, and will that get shut down? You have all these different thoughts of, hey, this is a really cool thing. What's the capitalist motive behind it? But that really does sound cool that, hey, everything that seemed so far out of reach just because you didn't want to open your wallet, now all of a sudden is there for a game that that people thought would be gone forever. So I'm honestly curious to see if this will be adopted in the future, because Matt, you know me, I love me some Marvel Heroes, Marvel Heroes Omega, Marvel Heroes, I don't know, 2015, whatever the Marvel Diablo was. And that was unfortunately shut down years ago. And I know there are talks of private servers being developed. And I think the most you can do right now is connect to something and run around with no enemies. But, that dedicated fan base is working on it. And I'm pretty sure that's going to be a lot more of a gray area, just because you're dealing with Marvel, you're dealing with, a dev team that I don't believe is still together. So I think that's something least likely to get the official license treatment. But you have to think of all these different pseudo MMOs, light MMOs, and just MMOs in general that have gone on the wayside over the past few years. And if this could be an actual avenue that can be explored if a company is looking for goodwill to among its community. But I don't know, Matt, that's really cool for City of Heroes players. I for some reason, every time I think of City of Heroes, I kind of think about video game covers when it was first announced. I'm not really sure of the timeline per se, but I remember seeing a lot of different, magazine articles, cover stories talking about, hey, this was going to be a really huge, multiplayer experience. And I guess for me growing up, I was never that big on MMOs. But before we move on, Matt, did you have any experience with City of Heroes, either growing up or kind of just dabbling in it in the past?
I mostly dabbled in it, Jaren, because City of Heroes had a very, what do you call it? Wide breadth of character creation that you could do.
Right.
And I think back then, just experimenting with that wide breadth of powers, because I think it was like you could take 2 or 3 power sets and kind of just mash them into one hero to make a hero. And the combinations that you could kind of like pull with that were like really wild. And I have like huge, what do you call it? Like analysis paralysis when it comes to picking a character or a starting class. And Jaren, that did not help at all. But, being able to just mess around with all those starting builds was already a really fun time for me.
Okay. So are you going to be jumping in on this not so private, officially licensed server anytime soon, Matt?
I think I might, Jaren, but I don't think it's going to be for a while because, Jaren, I'm still palin. Jaren, I've been dragged back into Diablo 3.
Oh. So, something's off about what you just said, Matt, but how's Diablo 3 going in a post-Diablo 4 world?
It's pretty good. Diablo 3 is pretty good. They added like some like new stuff to make that treadmill flow a little better, and made some of the more boring parts a bit more fun and rewarding to do. It's Jaren, it's an interesting place to be in a post D4 world, especially since I think last season said, hey, our last season is going to be the last season for Diablo 3. And then they started a new season just a couple of weeks ago, Jaren, and now they're saying this one's going to be the last one for Diablo 3. So, Jaren, you never know.
You never know, Matt. Matt?
Mm-hmm.
How's D4 going? I'm looking at my 2 copies that I purchased of D4 and seeing how much dust is on the both of them.
Jaren,
but, yeah.
I couldn't tell you. I haven't played D4 since like 2 weeks after it launched.
Fair enough, Matt. Fair enough. But
Jaren, D3 is still pretty good.
Yeah, I should probably go back. I won't go back to it, but I totally remember how I bought DLC for that game, the Necromancer at the very least. So
yeah,
Matt,
good out, Jaren, Necromancer's S tier this season.
Oh, you know me, Matt. I do love me a good S tier character, but you know what else I love, Matt? That took way longer to open than I thought it would, but Matt, love me some good sparkling water. And for this week's installment of Jaren's Kira Kira sparkling water review, Matt, I'm going back to Farmboy. I have another bottle here, not a can, but this week, Matt, I have some Farmboy organic cucumber melon flavored sparkling water. Now, Matt.
Ooh, okay.
It says cucumber melon, but there's a picture of obviously a cucumber slice next to a watermelon slice. So, I guess when you
is watermelon usually the melon they use with cucumber?
I was going to ask, when you see melon for a flavor, do you automatically think watermelon, or do you think, I don't know, whatever? What's a green? Yeah, honeydew. Honeydew. Whatever
Jared,
that orange one is now.
Jared, I think the thing that's really throwing me off about this is that I don't think I've ever seen anything cucumber melon flavored. Cucumber melon to me is like very much a soap or a lotion.
I know what you mean, where I think on paper, the pairing, I don't know if it makes sense on paper, but then again, I don't have a distinguished palate, Matt. I'm just a boy who likes trying sparkling water, and I thought, hey, this looks interesting. So I have a bottle, gonna give it a whirl here on the mistake zone, and for hopefully no one is grossed out by my drinking water ASMR, but here I go, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, okay, this is weird. This is weird. It not like weird bad, but okay. So I took a sip of my cucumber melon sparkling water,
Yes.
and when it was hitting my tongue, at first the front part really tasted that, I guess, cucumber taste. You know, that with a cucumber, they're pretty much flavorless, but they have that, I guess, water taste to them. So I felt that in the front of my tongue, but as it kind of settled and it went into the aftertaste, I began to taste that, I guess artificial watermelon taste towards the back of my tongue. So it's actually a weird, I don't know, it's a weird experience, Matt, where you get the cucumber first. It's a lot faint, but you can definitely tell it's cucumber. And then on the back end, that's when you get the watermelon. And okay, sip number 2. Not bad, Matt. It's oddly refreshing. I think I don't mind the cucumber so much, but the watermelon in the back half, it's not overly powerful, but you can definitely taste it's watermelon. I don't know about you, Matt, but with watermelon flavored, I guess, candy or treats, I feel like it's either hit or miss with me. I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of that watermelon taste, but I think in combination with the cucumber here, it really does give refreshing to me, Matt. And I don't mind this so much. I think this will be something I'll be sipping throughout the episode in between takes, but I do like it. I think unfortunately I would put it towards the bottom of my list just because while an interesting flavor, while it's an experience for the tongue, probably not something I'll go to, but I guess it's battling the other Farmboy drink I talked about a few weeks ago, the water or the orange creamsicle one. And I think I would still take the orange creamsicle one over this one. So unfortunately, right now at number 5 is the Farmboy organic cucumber melon. Not to say it's a bad, but compared to the other 4 I've drank for my stupid little segment, not my favorite, but not bad at all.
Jaren, I gotta ask. I know this isn't usually the way that the Kira Kira sparkling water segment goes, but how's the smell of it?
Matt? Let's do something gross, and I'll sniff it in my mic. Actually, wait, Matt, you can smell the watermelon, like the artificial watermelon. Oddly enough, you don't really get a Then again, I don't know what a cucumber smells like, but you can definitely smell the watermelon. So, Matt, I think we'll add smell moving forward if it's applicable. Like any good tasting, Matt. Like Jared, good tasting.
Maybe we should wait and see how the audio portion of that part comes first.
Point taken, Matt. Point taken. But yeah, Farmboy organic cucumber melon flavored sparkling water. Not bad. Again, not hashtag ad, not hashtag sponsored, but you know what, Matt? I'll give it a hashtag refreshing.
Nice.
So, Matt, while we are kind of speaking about our Steam games and reoccurring segments, I need to hit you up with another no recent activity. This week, I looked through my library, pulled up my random number generator, and came across Hexcells Infinite. Now, Matt, this came out in 2014, and I'm not sure how it ended up in my library, but I don't know. When I saw the name Hexcells Infinite, I was thinking, what was that Hexagon game on the Xbox 360 that came pre-installed, I believe? I'm not sure if you remember.
Xbox 360. Super Hexagon?
Yeah, Super Hexagon, something like that. Where I thought it would be something like that. So I fired up Hexcells Infinite, and that this is a play on Minesweeper. Essentially,
okay.
there are 6 different worlds, and I believe in each world, I think there are around 6 or 7 puzzles in each. And it kind of plays like Minesweeper, where you'll get a grid. Instead of the squares, they're, of course, hexagons. And it plays like Minesweeper, where depending where your starting move is, it will have a number and tells you, okay, there's going to be essentially mines all around it. And then your job is to mark what's a mine and mark what isn't a mine, essentially.
Yeah, that's Minesweeper.
So that's Minesweeper, Matt. But I think one of the things that I liked as I was playing through this game is just how there is some variety, because not only do you have user generated maps you can play, they have a daily puzzle as well, but each of the different worlds seems to introduce a bunch of different mechanics as well, where you'll see the number that indicates how many mines are essentially around you, but sometimes depending on how that number is marked, it might mean, okay, there might be 3 mines around you, but the way this is designated is all 3 of the mines will be right beside each other. Or all the mines will have at least a gap, at least 1 mine in between them. And I think as you kind of go on the perimeter of it, you'll see numbers, which means, okay, in this row, there's only going to be 2 mines. In this row, there's going to be 4 mines. So I do like it's not how it takes that Minesweeper formula and kind of adds different mechanics, where I think one of my favorite parts about it is when you're kind of introduced to the game, when you're starting it up, it tells you right away, hey, the puzzles, at least the ones that are kind of pre-built into the game, they were designed in a way where you don't have to guess. You'll be given enough information to actually make your informed moves. And Matt, as someone who didn't understand how to play Minesweeper for a while, the fact that, I don't know, there's like a confidence of, hey, you don't have to guess. All the information is made available to you. I think that's why I kind of liked Hexcells Infinite, where
really good, actually.
I'm looking at the store page right now. It is $6.50 Canadian, but I believe looking at, I guess, is there any deal? This has been pretty cheap in the past. So I think for under $5, like the starting price is $6.50, but it's been under 5 Canadian in the past, where I think it's a really decent puzzle game. I think all the different mechanics that it really does introduce throughout the worlds really does make you think. And again, there are user generated maps, a daily challenge, which I do recommend you go through the worlds at first, Matt, because I think I completed like the first 2 worlds and thought, oh, maybe I'll see what this daily challenge is about. And Matt, that was a behemoth of a boy, the beefiest of boys, if you will. And I went back and continued with the quote unquote campaign. But if you're into Minesweeper, I do recommend Hexcells Infinite. There is a lot more to it than I actually thought there would be. And Matt, I have to ask you, your interest seems kind of piqued when I was talking about this game. Matt, what's your history with Minesweeper in general?
Jaren, my history with Minesweeper in general is that I'm bad at Minesweeper.
Same.
But I actually had never heard of Hexcells prior to this. Also, Jaren, I looked it up. The 360 game was called Hexic.
Oh, yeah, Hexic. Okay.
Super Hexagon is like, that is a different game. But kind of the way that you were talking about it, where it, like, I was also like watching video as you were talking of like what this game looks like, and it looks so much more, I don't know, interesting to me than Minesweeper, especially when you drop the fact that it has those kind of like extra hints or extra pieces of logic that you can work through.
Yeah.
Where like like they're all touching, or there's a gap between them, or this row contains however many. It really does remind me of a well-crafted Sudoku puzzle.
Oh, okay.
And like a well-crafted Sudoku puzzle also just feels so good to do because it is designed for you to find a place to break in, and that leads you to every single other number, and everybody else who does this puzzle should also like follow that exact same order as they're going through, and you just get these nice bits of, oh, of course this is how it works, because like yeah. And I don't know, that kind of logic puzzle is always so like intriguing to me to make me want to play it.
Okay. Well, I definitely recommend Hexcells Infinite, especially next time it's on the Steam sale. But Matt, before we move on, talking about Minesweeper and me saying how I didn't really understand it, Matt, do you want to know when Minesweeper finally clicked for me? Because, growing up, whenever I would play Minesweeper as a kid, I didn't even understand what was going on. I would just click randomly until I lost.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I think I was maybe it was early high school, Matt. But Matt, remember back in the day of MSN Messenger? And do you remember the different PvP games you could play with your friends inside the Messenger client? One of them was
all of them.
Bejeweled, but one of them was this turn-based Minesweeper like PvP game where you and your friend would race. I think it was turn-based, and essentially race to flag the most mines, and then there was different power-ups, I believe. But I think it was finally reading the tutorial for that game, it made me realize what the whole point of Minesweeper was. And I don't know, I remember loving that Minesweeper MSN game and begging friends to play it and always being excited when someone would accept that challenge. And I now want to look around to see if there's any equivalent to that Minesweeper PvP game.
Jaren, I can tell you the exact time I learned how to play Minesweeper, because remember College Humor, Jaren?
Yes.
College Humor, now Dropout, which I think is also a fantastic service, no ad. But they put out a video about Minesweeper. Like, I don't know if you remember, like they made a Minesweeper the movie trailer.
Right, yeah.
And that is how I learned how to play Minesweeper properly.
Man, when playing through Hexcells Infinite, it really made me want to, I don't know. I know in my parents' house, our old PC that ran Windows ME is tucked away in some closet, I think, where playing through Hexcells made me want to kind of just reconnect that and see, one, what's on that hard drive, and two, just play Minesweeper that way, play that pinball game that everyone loved. Matt?
Oh man, that pinball game.
That pinball game was so good. And I know there are a lot of different pinball games on the market right now, especially on Steam, but nothing comes close to that kid and his blaster. I think there was a kid. Was there a kid with a blaster associated with that pinball game?
Was there? I don't remember that.
Or some spaceship. I don't know. I just remember it being fun, Matt. Like Hexcells Infinite, which, check out if logic puzzles are your jam. So, Matt. Speaking about Steam, the February 2024 Steam Next Fest just went live today, I believe, or at least today when we're recording. And I know late last week, a demo of a game I was looking forward to, or at least interested in, also released a bit earlier ahead of Next Fest. And Matt, I've been playing the Helskate Demo. This was shown off, I believe, during Summer Games Fest and the Double Fine showcase, something like that, along those lines. But with Helskate, the lead designer is Steve Swink, who worked on Tony Hawk's Underground. And Matt, on paper, it's an action roguelite that is built atop the arcade skateboarding foundation of the Tony Hawk games. aka something that should be right up my alley, Matt. So it's a demo for an early access game, which I believe releases February 15th, or I guess within the next 2 weeks. And Matt, I hate to say it, but I have to put that early access as a Turk and say it's kind of rough, Matt. And there have been moments where, I've clipped through the level geometry. I've respawned in areas where I legit couldn't get out of, where out of nowhere the game performance just tanks, it chugs, it gets framey. And Matt, early access, so I guess, I can hand wave some of the performance issues because that will hopefully get addressed as they continue to build this game. But I think after roughly playing an hour of the demo, there's just something off about Helskate where I think moving forward, Matt, I was a lot more positive in following it. And now I think I'm going to be a bit more cautious when following the game. Still with optimism because I think there's something there. But right now I don't think it's there enough for me, but there are definitely things that seem cool about it. But at the same time, there are things that, as I said, make me less excited than before. And I understand it's unfair to compare this to the Tony Hawk standard. This isn't a Tony Hawk game, but at the same time, it lifts so much characteristics from, that franchise that it's difficult not to compare it. I think I had the same dilemma when I was talking about, Bum Rush Cyberpunk last summer, where again, not an actual successor or not an actual sequel to Jet Set Radio, but again, it shares so much of its DNA that you can't help but compare them. But Matt, my first grip is that since it's built on the foundation of Tony Hawk, seasoned players will come into this with, your Tony Hawk muscle memory. You steer with the D-pad. Y is your grind. I'm playing on an Xbox controller, of course. Y is your grind. Left plus X will do a kickflip. You grab with the B button, and the A button lets you ollie. Yeah. If you press up and down, you'll manual. Standard Tony Hawk stuff. But I think it goes up to Tony Hawk 2, and that's the extent of the actual skateboarding gameplay. The bumpers don't allow you to spin. Those are actually attached to attack and dodging. Your trigger doesn't let you revert or pivot. Those are abilities. So you're essentially, as I said, playing Tony Hawk 2, but in game, it still wants you to do combos. And it basically kills any reason for you to approach a vert ramp other than to end a combo, essentially. So again, it's that Tony Hawk 2 dilemma where skating vert really doesn't contribute to your score that much, especially when you don't have that revert. But it doesn't seem like you can spine transfer either, which makes traversal less seamless than you would expect. And there are off-the-board controls, but those are kind of pretty basic. You have walking around. There's no real climbing. There's no parkour like we saw in the later Tony Hawk games. I don't think the off-the-board controls feel good with the D-pad. Likewise, I don't think the on-board controls feel good with the analog stick. That's just preference for my part. But also, Matt, you know what's weird? In the menu, you have to press a Y to back out instead of B. I also found that really weird.
No, that's gross. What is that?
It was really off-putting, Matt. But so again, it's a skateboarding game mixed with a roguelite. So you do have combat, and combat is, I think, just okay. I actually like how your right bumper, the right bumper controls your sword. And I think the sword swing is pretty good. Animation is decent, but the attack itself feels like it has some heft to it. The right trigger is your heavy attack, which I guess by default is like a whirlwind spin attack. When you use it, it goes on cooldown. And then the left shoulder button is your dash attack. And you use that to dash towards an enemy, it will help you dodge attacks. I guess there's some invincibility frames in it, so you can dash through attacks unscathed, and then that will help you close the gap to an enemy. In pure roguelite fashion, Matt, you spawn into a small area, and there are various challenges. Tell me if you heard this before, Matt. You know, the game will ask you to spell Helskate, to kill 5 enemies, to grind certain things, to have a combo score with this number of enemy kills. So it's basic stuff like that. And when you complete these goals, you'll get power-ups in the form of clothes, money, and boosts. What I do like about the clothing power-ups is basically when you unlock them, it will give you, hey, do you want these pants or these gloves or this top or this hat? And every time you choose one of those clothing items for your passives, it actually affects how your character looks. And I haven't seen it in the demo itself, but I know in the full game for those abilities that follow through with you to, I guess, your what's the thing called, Matt? The power-ups that go from run to run. Its name's slipping my mind.
Oh man, your like permanent power-ups?
Yeah, your permanent stuff is tied to tattoos on your character's body, which I thought was cool. So your clothing is temporary, tattoos are permanent, which is a cool lore thing. Yeah. But yeah, money can be used to buy stuff at vending machines you find throughout the level, and then you can upgrade your tricks for different effects. Some of the upgrades are cool, like sometimes your heavy attack will have increased knockback and do more damage, or hey, maybe your kickflip will make an orb spin around you for an attack, or it will buff your next melee attack, so it will shoot lightning or wind whirlwinds or whatever. And of course, one of the cooler ones in theory was, hey, every time you did an impossible or a heel flip, it will shoot out a chain towards the closest enemy, and then you can grind that chain. So, Matt,
that's cool.
In theory, on paper, it sounds really cool. And it's only when you kind of really get into it, that's where I kind of see it not quite there yet. For example, you lock onto an enemy with R3, and locking onto that enemy kind of breaks the camera in a way. So I'm going to paint you a scenario, Matt. Say you're skating towards an enemy, you lock onto them. That's fine. You're skating towards them. Great. It's only, say you skate past them. So now the enemy is behind you and you're skating towards the camera, you know, like how you would expect lock on to function. But for some reason in this state, you know, with the enemy behind you and you skating towards the camera, the controls somehow aren't as tight as they normally are. Like your character doesn't seem to turn as sharp as normal if you were, you know, skating forward. It feels like the controls are inverted sometimes, and just from that angle, you're more prone to bump into the environment, which kind of just kills the overall flow of the game. I don't know, Matt. When locked on and you go past an enemy and the camera all of a sudden swings ahead of you, it just doesn't feel great. Sure, you can control. Normally, you can use the right analog stick to kind of control the camera, but I don't know. When you're locked in, Matt. And I don't know, the controls kind of tank there. But I mentioned a mission that you can get is score X amount of points with 1 or 2 enemy kills during that combo. And for someone who isn't used to the flow of the game yet, honestly, I think this is a pain to do. I'm still not used to it. I think that buff that shoots a chain out sounds cool on paper, but I feel like it doesn't actually flow well enough yet where I would shoot a chain and then try to immediately grind it like you would expect to do. But for some reason, that never connected and my combo would break. And honestly, it does this obnoxious thing where every time you break a combo, kind of in the middle of the screen, it will say combo broken. And I feel like it's distracting. But anyway, yeah, I feel like you're supposed to be able to grind it, but I never could. And I don't know, Matt. I would have to turn around, grind on the chain to get to the enemy. But then for some reason, it also didn't feel like I would get close enough to the enemy. And it would feel just short enough where it seems like you need to dash into them first and then start attacking. Where, again, I think these are things that can be tightened up, as the early access thing progresses. But right now, I just couldn't get into it. But it's those little things that kind of throw combat off for me, where I can see the foundation, but it isn't necessarily solid enough yet. Not to mention, it feels like an off version of Tony Hawk. It feels faster. Your character feels a bit floaty. The animations aren't as crisp. Tricks don't have that same impact. I feel like going into this game as a longtime Tony Hawk fan is actually doing it a disservice, because I'm not looking at it as a product that stands on its own, but sort of a weird offshoot, which again, I admit is really unfair. But I don't know, that was something that was hard for me to shake playing through the demo. But again, it's early access, and I hope a lot of it gets ironed out. But until then, Matt, on paper, this game should be for me. But again, it's a lot more loose than I would like it, where I think this isn't something I would buy early access day one, but something I would kind of follow the dev diary just to see what's been updated, what's been added, what's been tuned. And then hopefully on paper, it will get to a point where I want to check it out. But right now, I think the demo shows promise, but I think that's where that's enough for me now until it's a bit more fleshed out. But Matt, just based on that, with my negative Nancy stuff aside, is Hellscape something you might check out in the future?
Honestly, probably not. I think I'm just gonna live vicariously through you, through your Hellskate experience.
Yep, Matt. Well, Matt, that's the mistake zone, us reliving our hells for one another. But that's okay, Matt. That's okay. So, Matt, before we get into kind of going through the January 2024 Sony PlayStation State of Play, I just wanted to kind of hit a few quick news items. Just because, Matt, I think video games got really weird this weekend, because I feel like out of nowhere, I would kind of browse through Reddit, browse through different social media websites, apps, forums, and I saw a lot of discourse this weekend about the current state of Microsoft. A lot of rumors going around, especially, I know we've been seeing some rumors previous weeks about, Hi-Fi Rush would be coming to Switch, and the PlayStation 5, Sea of Thieves would be potentially coming to the PlayStation, to the Switch as well. And I feel like that just burst at its seams this weekend, where we have so many headlines, so many rumors about Microsoft reportedly considering bringing Gears of War to the PlayStation, Microsoft kind of changing their approach to from hardware to a more publisher side. And even today, Matt, 7 hours ago from this recording, Phil Spencer tweeted, "We're listening and we hear you. We've been planning a business update event for next week where we look forward to sharing more details with you about our vision for the future of Xbox. Stay tuned." And Matt,
Jared,
that feels like a lot to only imply you're going to put Hi-Fi Rush on the Switch and the PS5. Where, yeah, man, I remember I sent you that kind of, I think it was a Video Game Leaks and Rumors subreddit thread about, hey, this is what we've been hearing. Microsoft will be, taking a step back from hardware. They're going to be, Call of Duty won't be coming onto Game Pass. They're going to add ads to Game Pass at some point. And I know we won't go through all the rumors right now. And most likely next week, we're going to be talking about whatever this business update event is. One, Matt, business update event sounds really gross to me.
That's so bad.
But Matt, just as a person who has been following the video game industry for essentially your whole life as well, from a more casual perspective, what's essentially your gut feeling based on what was reported this weekend and essentially Phil Spencer's kind of hint for the business update event next week?
Jaren, a couple of weeks ago, whichever episode of that was, where we were talking about the Game Pass on Switch, and I thought I was just making an offhanded comment of, oh yeah, that could never happen unless, Microsoft pulls out of the console game. Did not think, I thought I was talking on my butt there, Jaren, but apparently that might be right. But Jaren, the way that that tweet went out is to go a little bit deeper and not relate to people who are listening to this podcast, but this is more a you and me thing, Jaren.
Mm-hmm.
Jaren, this is like when you see important announcement as a VTuber's what do you call it, next stream thumbnail.
Oh gosh.
It has an exact same feeling.
Oh man, Matt. So yeah, this is just wanted to briefly touch upon it this week. Next week I think next week we can kind of break down some of the rumors that we saw this past weekend and see how it actually relates to what is actually presented next week. But yeah, Matt, I feel like depending how this goes, this could be, again, such an industry defining event in terms of how we view, the console market, how we view the publishing market. And I don't know, Matt, I feel like that tweet from Phil Spencer is just ominous enough where, this is more than just seeing Sea of Thieves and Hi-Fi Rush on other consoles. But Matt, what's up?
Jared, I can't believe Xbox Chan is going to graduate.
Oh, man.
I can't wait to see what they come back as in V-Shoujo.
Matt, us with our hot VTuber goofs that only a handful of our friends will understand. But Matt, that got to pop out of me. And that's all we can do per se. But speaking of things that I sent you over the weekend, Matt, Tekken 8, the new fighting game hotness right now.
Yes.
I sent you a TikTok this weekend because, Matt, I send you a lot of Tekken 8 TikToks because, Matt, that character editor, the outfit designer that you can do for each of the Tekken characters, kind of wild. Kind of wild. And, Matt, that made me want to pick it up so I can play as Yumiko Lily. And, Matt, what was the best anime cosplay or just costume in general that you've seen from Tekken 8 so far?
Jared, I think the Yumiko one is just the one that stands out to me the most. I think that one felt the most real to me for some reason.
Where I thought when I saw the screen grab, I thought, oh, did they actually put a Yumiko costume into this game?
Yeah, I think that's what, because I could legitimately see a Yumiko costume being in, what do you call it, in Tekken.
Yeah.
But Pitbull, not so much.
Fair enough, Matt. Fair enough. But one TikTok in particular from It's Just Kenshi was kind of breaking down the Tekken 8 replay system. And from what I gather from the comments, I believe this was also present in Tekken 7, but I can't confirm that because I didn't really play Tekken 7. But at least in Tekken 8, something about the replay system seemed really wild to me, where it will let you replay any match that you've had. And as you watch the replay, say you got hit with an attack, the game will then bring up essentially like a pop. Matt, can I make another timely reference? It will become a pop-up video and then show a blurb saying, hey, you were hit by this attack. You could have countered with this move. And it will also let you kind of select that blurb and then go into a training scene where it actually shows your character reacting to that move. So say we were playing Matt, I'm playing as Pitbull and you're playing as Yumiko. You hit me with a move, and then the game will tell me, hey, you could have pressed left and 1-2 to counter this right after. And then I'll hit the button to show me the training scene, and it will actually show the character, doing left 1-2 to kind of show you what you could have actually done. And Matt, I feel like this is actually really huge as a casual who kind of wants to learn more than he actually puts the effort to. But I think that type of replay system is really wild, where one, how do you even program something like that? And two, I wonder how it's gathering the data, of how it suggests this is the proper punish to that move, where I know you have thousands upon thousands of games being played at any given or on a daily basis. And I wonder if it's one of those, hey, we can see that a lot of people are punishing this move with this move, and this is what we're gonna kind of recommend to people. But that, as I guess from your perspective, what do you think of a kind of an in-depth replay system like this?
I think it's really interesting. I really do kind of like what they've shown with it, especially the kind of, I guess, that counterplay moment that it points out to you. I really do hope that it's sourced somehow from like online match history or something like that. Because in my head, the really easy way to do it to me is, when they're doing a replay, like, it's not like they're playing back a video. They're just playing back all the commands that got put in at that time. And I'm wondering if it's just thinking like, okay, they did whatever, Dragon Punch here or whatever. So you show the Dragon Punch prompt here, because we've also noted that the player got hit by it. And I hope it's like, and it's always going to show, hey, to like counter Dragon Punch, you like do this thing. And I really just hope that it's more so not something that stays static. I think it would be very interesting if it somehow flows with whatever Tekken meta ends up being.
Yeah. Again, I think this is really cool. Again, on paper, but as you said, it is how these source the suggestions. If it is, and I would love to see how this differs in between patches, after major events, major tournaments where people get new tech from whatever they're watching or who the latest champion is, where I think it would be a really interesting kind of experiment, or just, hey, I'm gonna save this one profile, or I'm gonna have this one replay, and will it change over time, or will the same, as you said, will it always adjust the same thing, or depending on the update, depending on if a tournament happens, will it suggest something different because more people are trying something different? And I think that would be really cool. I wonder if this could be implemented into other genres, or if this is really something that could really shine in a fighting game. But Matt, crazy. You know what else is crazy? Sorry, this is going to derail the conversation. Matt, you know what trips me out? How Minecraft Steve is in Smash Bros. That still trips me out, Matt. It still trips me out.
Yeah.
But
Jaren, I honestly didn't think that was gonna be a thing. I thought everybody saying that was crazy. But Jaren, maybe Minecraft Steve making it onto a Nintendo console was just the start of Phil Spencer's plan.
Oh man. We'll see next week at the business event, Matt. So Matt, to end things off, last week there was a new Sony State of Play for January 2024. And they essentially had 40 minutes of just gameplay trailers, announcements, and more information about some upcoming games. And one of the earlier titles that they showed was more of Stellar Blade. They showed a kind of 6-minute video, part walkthrough, part gameplay demo. And Matt, I didn't realize Shift Up was developing this game. Shift Up, of course, is the developers behind Nikke, Goddess of Victory.
Oh, you know
And
what? This game makes a lot more sense now.
and that
Uh-huh.
I know when I first saw Stellar Blade, and I think we first talked about it, we said, "Oh, this is definitely the hey, we have Bayonetta at home meme." But
Uh-huh.
Matt,
Mhm.
knowing what I know about Shift Up, based on the disgusting amount of Nikke I've been playing since
Uh-huh.
September or so,
Uh-huh.
one totally makes sense. A lot of things fall into place watching this game.
Yeah.
But I think as a Nikke player, all I could think was, okay, the last collaboration we had was with Near Automata. Essentially, in Nikke, you have different manufacturer gear tied to uh, different manufacturers, and the abnormal tag is essentially all the collab units. And I have a bunch of abnormal gear that I can't use. And for some reason, watching this trailer made me think, oh, they're going to have a Nikke Stellar Blade collab at some point.
Mhm.
It writes itself, Matt. It writes itself. But,
Mhm.
Matt,
Mhm.
is Stellar Blade something you see yourself playing?
I think so. Jaren, is Stellar Blade isn't that free to play like weird game, right? Like this is just
No.
an actual just like normal game.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, no,
Okay.
like I can see myself playing Stellar Blade. I never realized until the State of Play trailer
Hmm.
how I guess like fashiony the game was.
Yeah.
Like it's giving me Resonance of Fate vibes.
Okay.
And Jaren, I really loved playing dress up in that game. And if this game has like a dress up system as good as that game, I think I'm gonna enjoy it just like based on that.
Matt,
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at our games right now on Reddit.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a thread that says Stellar Blade will feature 20 to 30 different costumes for the protagonist. And
Nice.
I'm hoping that's available in game, unlockable in game, but
Mm-hmm.
this also has 614 comments, Matt. So something seems to be up that I might have to investigate after. But moving on, we also saw a gameplay demo or gameplay trailer of Rise of the Ronin. Um, this being from Team Ninja, something I was looking forward to based on our pre-cap episode a few weeks back.
Mm-hmm.
And watching the gameplay trailer, Matt, this looks a lot more Assassin's Creed than I was expecting it to. Where I think I don't know, maybe I was thinking more Ghost of Tsushima, which I guess is reminiscent of Assassin's Creed in some capacity, but I don't know, this looks exactly like I would expect an Assassin's Creed game to look in a way. And I think for reasons that will become apparent in a few weeks when I finally get around to it, but there was just something about the combat that looked good. Like, don't get me wrong, but at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, I'm used to more fluid parrying and kind of more seamless combat. And there was a bit I don't know, it just didn't look like it flowed that well for me anyway. But still something I eventually want to check out. Looked cool. But if I had to be honest, Matt, we also got our first look at Silent Hill 2, the remake, I
Mm-hmm.
believe from Bloober Team. And I know there was some, discourse going around about how, oh, they're changing puzzle answers, solutions around and whatnot. But I think the thing that stood out to me is kind of how rough the combat looked. And the only reason I say that is because I think we're in a post Resident Evil 2, post Resident Evil 4 world where we've seen Capcom put so much, I don't know, invest a lot into those remakes that,
Mm-hmm.
they're essentially brand new games that stand on their own. And for how well Silent Hill 2 has been received, how it's reached this cult like status, um, or fan favorite cult status, I don't know. There was just something that for me, someone who has kind of an affinity for Silent Hill 2, to see it not receive, I guess, the same care that Resident Evil 2 and 4 received, I don't know, that bummed me out a bit, Matt, where
Yeah.
I'm less excited to check out Silent Hill, like the remake now, because again, I feel like if it had the same love and dedication that the RE games got, I don't know, this
Uh-huh.
would be definitely a different conversation. But for now, it's, oh, the melee doesn't look particularly great. The graphics are okay, but I don't know, man. It's a hard market to be in right now, especially with some of its peers. But
Mm-hmm.
Matt, we also got some gameplay from Judas. Again, a game I was also looking forward to during the pre-cap episode we have. And yep,
Mm-hmm.
definitely wearing that Bioshock, I guess, inspiration pedigree on its sleeve, where
Yeah.
you could have told me this was Bioshock, I don't know, 4, and I would have believed you. I don't know. Matt, did the Judas trailer
Uh-huh.
do anything for you?
I mean, it's making me want to, see what's going on here.
Yeah.
Jaren, if this game doesn't have a lighthouse in it, I'm gonna be tilted.
Do you think they'll lean into that direction, or do you think they'll try to separate themselves?
I think that they'll have at least like one of the things
Okay.
in it. Yeah.
Do you think there's an Easter egg at the very least where, I don't know, you're walking around a toy store and there's just a lighthouse on the shelf? Is that the extent, or do you want an actual,
Oh,
like,
if it was something
lighthouse?
like that, I think it would be a bird in a cage.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Fair
Yeah.
enough, Matt. Matt,
Mm-hmm.
apparently Kojima is making a new action espionage game. It attempts to blur the line between video game and film. No name given yet. Matt,
Jaren,
what's up?
I I was just thinking about my few hours in Death Stranding 2, and I don't know if I'm gonna fall into this video game movie thing.
Not before we get into what essentially was the main course of the state of play. Was there anything else that stuck out to you?
Um, I mean, just like some minor stuff. Like I was surprised to see that V Rising is coming like
Right.
soon. I fully forgot that was a game. Jaren, I was so surprised to see Foam Stars.
Yeah.
I'm interested in seeing how that's going to do, because of the whole us being Splatoon boys
Yeah.
thing is. But yeah, I mean, like those are everything else like is a lot of stuff like that I've already seen. Like, oh, Helldivers is coming out, Dragon's Dogma is coming. Like those are all. I don't think anything really new has been shown since the last time we talked about those.
How are you feeling about the Dave the Diver Godzilla collab?
Jeremy, that's weird to me. I
Okay.
know that like there was that whole controversy about how Dave the Diver isn't an indie game or
Yeah.
something like that, and the fact that Godzilla is in Dave the Diver makes me feel even like weirder about it right now.
Okay. Matt, I know if we didn't have enough to talk about, I was probably going to turn this into me talking about Godzilla -1, but thankfully we can save that for another week. Matt,
Mm-hmm.
let's just get into it. Death Stranding
Mm-hmm.
2 on the beach. Matt,
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest. I'll be completely honest. Safe
Uh-huh.
space, right? Safe space.
Uh-huh.
I don't have an affinity for the Metal Gear franchise.
Same.
I think with Kojima as a creator, again, don't have an affinity towards him either. I respect his craft, I guess, as much as an outsider looking in can respect one's craft. But
Mm-hmm.
I didn't play. I think I tried Death Stranding 1 when it was given away on the Epic Games Store, but it really didn't play much to it.
Uh-huh.
And watching the Death Stranding 2 on the beach trailer, Matt,
Uh-huh.
I don't want to say I think I get Kojima, but I think
Uh-huh.
watching this trailer gave me an appreciation for Kojima in a way that I didn't have previously. Because Matt,
Uh-huh.
this trailer was weird. It was
Yeah.
odd, and yet it sold me on who Kojima is as a creator that none of his previous works have done for me before. Matt, this is for some reason, do you remember that Game Awards years ago? Where it was me, you, and Julian watching it in his living room, and there was something about, the Phantom Pain. And
Yes.
it was us connecting the dots to see, is this actually a Metal Gear game? What's going on? Kojima, please. I think that was the levels of, for lack of a better word, excitement that I was feeling towards this trailer. When I think Troy Baker was the voice, when not Troy Baker, not the Joker, not the Crow, was suddenly fighting this robot samurai who might have been a baby. And he whips out his guitar and starts shredding his guitar to do a lightning attack. This was after we saw that, 10 frames per second ventriloquist dummy charm, or the lady with her hands face mask that moved.
Jared, I like the hands face mask.
Face mask was dope. But that, not Joker, not the Crow guy with the guitar, that whole exchange instantly made me more excited for Death Stranding 2, but at the same time disappointed, because I know, or at least it doesn't seem like that fight will translate into game combat. But Matt, what did you think of Death Stranding 2's On the Beach debut?
Jaren, the whole time I was watching it, I'm like, man, what is Kojima even doing? Like, I think personally, when I got to the Joker Guitar Man, I was like, okay, yeah, this is just going like way off the rails for me now. I don't understand what's happening anymore. He looks like he's in like a bootleg Samus outfit.
Yep.
I don't know, Jaren. And then once you busted out the lightning guitar, Jaren, this really just solidified as a game I'll take a look at from a distance again.
Yep. And I think that's how I'll approach it too. I just want to see how weird it gets, and if it's able to, ride that fine line between something that doesn't overstay its welcome and something that is just completely obnoxious. But I'm excited to see which celebrity Pokemon friends Kojima has added to his collection. That's always a good bit. And yeah, Matt, that was more or less the state of play for January 2024. I think overall a pretty strong state of play, and made me really interested in a few of the games that were shown off, made me kind of eyebrow raise a few of them as well, but I guess most importantly made me go, oh, okay, Kojima, okay. I'll not, as the kids say, let the man cook, if you will. But Matt, another beefy episode of the Mistake Zone this week. Went longer than I actually thought it would go, but I want to thank you, as always, for joining me this week and editing this fine poopcast.
Jaren, I want to thank you for hosting every week and basically planning out this whole show, actually.
Hey, thanks, man. Matt, some stuff coming up, I guess. Mostly, hopefully, we're going to be meeting in person in a few weeks and kind of recording a few episodes as you and some mutual friends get ready for their big trip to Japan. Matt, how's your preparation going?
Poorly.
Yeah, nice. Noise, Matt.
Oh, man.
I guess
Jaren, I think I still don't know what we're doing in some places.
Okay. Hey, Matt. Let adventure take you. I think that's all you can hope for. Looking forward to see how that plans out, and looking forward to you just having a good time. But Matt, please take it away.
This has been Mistake Zone, and maybe we're all out of Xbox consoles.
Matt, I'm scared. I'm scared, Matt.